Alrighty, time for the Predacon Last with the Sass. War for Cybertron Kingdom, Black Arachnia. Today at Guerrilla Reviews. Yes, we finally have a retail version of Black Arachnia that isn't over $100. Well, oddly enough, we do see a lot of the same engineering in this figure. We also see, if we go to the bottom here, where parts forming really gets its bad reputation. Because once you remove this gun, you're kind of only held together by these 2 points here, and they are tenuous at best. And yes, visible head syndrome. Admittedly, where her head is not where as awful as it could be, but it's still not great. But you do get a fairly decent spider mode with, well, something resembling articulation in the legs. Only ball joints on these parts. The rest are kind of stuck together there, but it can at least relatively stand up due to its own weight. Plus, you kind of got something weird going on there. Not really sure what it is. Basically, it is just the hips, but still. And that, despite being a Black Widow spider, it's kind of the hourglass kind of isn't there, is it? Now, since I actually have a figure I can use a size comparison for, here is Studio Series 86 Rodimus. Well, Hot Rod. If it was Rodimus, it'd be, well, it wouldn't be a fair comparison. But it's also kind of an unfair comparison anyway, considering that this is a deluxe and this is a, well, it's at the Voyager price line. But that's supposed to be because of the accessories, but that gets us into a whole can of worms I'm going to cover later. But yeah, as you can see, fairly compact, and although this would be a fairly giant spider if we were really going into it. Granted, a human-sized spider would be fairly large anyway, but you're basically having a car-sized spider versus a human-sized spider. It's gonna look a little freaky no matter what. Anyway, we'll now move on to transformation. We will come up to here, unpeg these parts, bring them down like that. And then from here we will kind of wriggle everything out of there. Nothing really pegging together, so that is both good and bad. Twist and bring these legs around. Now these parts are movable, but they kind of just don't do much on their own. Okay, anyway, bringing this part back and folding this carapace in, we will then bring this part out. It's on that bit of a, get a hinge there, bring out and around, peg in the chest, flip this whole bit around and twist around the head, bring this part in for the back, solid Black Arachnia, sassy Black Arachnia, sullen, sassy, sullen, sassy. Okay, moving on. Twist these parts around, bring these legs out here for her, well, machine gun attack, I do suppose. Don't have any effects part for that, but what can you do? Without having to increase the price point even more. Put the weapon in her hand, and there we go. Black Arachnia, robot mode. Okay, now as easy as it was to get her out of that, getting her into that was something of a chore. Mostly because you have to put everything in a very specific configuration in order to work. Also, flip out these bits for the knees, because I know somebody's going to mention it. Eventually. Okay. Now, as we have noticed, there is a lot more than just ball joints going on here. Which is both impressive and bit odd, considering this was indeed the age of the ball joint, but that was also with another company. So we're Got a bit more variation in the articulation itself. And, well, you can get this similar amount of posing for a lot more impressive figure anyway, because Black Arachnia in the original toy line was wide, and the head was a bit weird to begin with. Though I do imagine some people would like the mutant head along with this figure. I imagine some third party is working on that one, if there is indeed a call for it. If that excites you. Moving on to articulation itself, it's actually on a couple of different points here. We do have a ball joint for the head, but we also have this hinge joint. So, yeah. Okay. Hinge joint for the shoulder. Mushroom peg joint on both ends for the forearm. And this simple pin joint for the elbow. No real waist joint there, but that's mostly because it's all kind of holding everything together. Double hinge joint for the hips. Mushroom joint for the thigh. Decent pin joint for the knee there, and a forward tilt and sideways tilt for the feet. So you can get some wide posing in there. So posing is definitely a normal possibility, and it isn't going to degrade over time without floor polish. So that's an improvement. One would hope so after about, almost 30 years. And again, for a size comparison, we have Studio Series Hot Rod. So yeah, she is not okay, let's see here. Yeah, that's head smaller than Hot Rod, but it's still very impressive considering what she compresses into, but so that's definitely something. Oh, what the heck? Why am I? Okay. So yeah, she's not exactly tall, but she wasn't all that tall in the series either. At least not until her transmetal form, which I don't imagine they'll be getting to anytime soon. Anyway, that wraps up this Guerrilla review. I am the Deceptiwolf. This has been War for Cybertron Kingdom Black Arachnia. Again, I remind you all, free your mind, for your toys.